your arm. So it kind of gets thicker, and then you do that letter C twice. This is very complicated. And then you're going to do the last one in unison. So even though it's written in three style, it's all the last one. Does that make sense? It's a congregational hymn.
So indeed, we're all back on the soprano line.
Or the alto line. So let's try the letter B and C. So this is what you're going to be singing the melody.
Say that again.
Get their attention first. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the piece that Glenn and I are about to play for you. It comes from a larger work that was composed under very unusual circumstances in a prisoner of war camp during World War II by a young composer in his 20s named Olivier Messiaen. Messiaen was a pretty unusual guy, and the circumstances were only possible because he was already pretty much of a celebrity when he was taken prisoner. And he found 3 other musicians in the camp to play a composition that he wrote during the time. The prison guards got him staff music and paper, and they went into the village to find a cello for the cellist. It was a cello that had 3 strings. And the first performance was evidently the entire camp of prisoners and all the prison guards. The whole piece is called the Quartet for the End of Time, and this movement comes towards the end. It's called Praise to the Eternity of Jesus. The composition was inspired by part of the book of Revelation, in which the great angel makes a proclamation which goes to the effect, "There shall be time no longer. But at the day of the trumpet of the 7th angel, the mystery of God shall be consummated."
Good morning, and welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Ginger Guidry, and I am a member of the Worship Associates Ministry. Our minister is the Reverend Tom Belote. Our preacher this morning is Matt Zemon. Matt is a member of this church and, in addition to writing and speaking about psychedelics, holds a master's degree in psychology and neuroscience. Matt is a member of the Association of Entheogenic Practitioners and serves as the executive director of Sacred Path Community here in Chapel Hill. I especially want to welcome any visitors or newcomers to our church and to call your attention to the special note for you, welcome guests and newcomers, on the back of the order of service. I would also like to welcome those of you attending online. Lyrics to hymns may be found on the live stream screen, and a complete order of service, including this week's announcements, is available via the link in the Sunday morning email and on the church website. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. And finally, if you haven't already done so, please turn off or silence all cell phones during our service to maintain a worshipful experience. Now we will have a Within These Walls about the Concert for a Cause from the Side of Love Ministry.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. This song, I Am Willing, is just one of many, many songs by Holly Near, known all over the world for her music and her activism, celebrating the human spirit through music. So please join us for an amazing concert by this much-loved goddess of song right here at the Community Church on Thursday, September 7th at 7 p.m.
This concert is a fundraiser for the many activities of the Side with Love team right here in the church. And especially we're grateful for the work being done for reproductive justice and get out the vote. So we need and count on your support. Please join us. Holly Near doesn't tour that much anymore, so this is going to be an historic and inspiring evening. So bring your whole family for this wonderful evening of song.
And tickets will be available on the church. They are available on the church website on the concert page. And also we will have a Side with Love table after the service today, and you could come by and get the link or get your tickets. And for more information, come by our table for all the things that we do. We can't wait, and we look forward to you joining us for this amazing concert with Holly Near. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change.
Thank you. Please stand in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 1052 in your teal hymnal, The Oneness of Everything.
of hands, for light to meet the eyes, the features of the mind. There find the key to nature's harmony in an architecture so in time. Like the birds whose mountains raise the sky and carry out on its melody, a message of peace will rise and fly, taking away all the world upon its wings. In the oneness of peace is in the dance of trees, whose stir before the first of wind is yet conceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance, and the mysteries made believe. Songs of lives long past attached our own are written in the earth, ever giving, and now to maintain the harmony gives to us all lives worth living, for the oneness of still we seek to find a truth that we might understand. We do sometimes divide, vast and immeasurable time and space, all overwhelming design. Oh, passing years, I know the dread that winters in the heart will be born in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life, and the soul as a song to sing of the oneness of
The call to worship for this morning's service is written by William F. Schultz. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. You will find the words for our chalice lighting in the order of service. Please join me. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
The more I struggle and fight, trying to get it all right, I push away the very thing I want, thinking it's all up to me, deciding how it will be, forgetting that I'm guided by the one. get it all right. I push away the very thing I want, thinking it's all up to me, deciding how it will be, forgetting that I'm guided by the one. So I forgive myself over again, 'cause I'm doing the best I can. And there are no mistakes, I learn every day, and the universe is showing me the way. But sometimes the egoic mind is strong and making me blind. Oh, I run around believing all the lies, when choosing love over fear, a lens that's so bright and clear. All is here, is nothing to be found. So I forgive myself over again, 'cause I'm doing the best I can. And there are no mistakes, I learn every day, and the universe is showing me the way. And I'm giving up the need to know it all before. I am mastering the art of letting go. Yes, I was put here for a reason. I feel it in my bones. There's a purpose on this earth for my soul. So I forgive myself over again, 'cause I'm really doing the best I can. And there are no mistakes, I learn every day, and the universe is showing me the way. Yes, I forgive myself over again, 'cause I'm doing the best I can. And there are no mistakes, I learn every day. The universe is showing me the way. Yes, the universe is showing me the way. 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 The universe is showing me the way.
Each week, we hold a time in our worship service for the sharing of significant joys and sorrows. If you have a personal joy or sorrow you would like to share, you are invited to come forward, place a stone in the water, speak your name into the microphone, and briefly share your joy or sorrow. Let us enter into this time of tenderness and trust.
Hi, I'm Ginger Long, and I went to Susie the week before last, but I was sleeping on Sunday morning last week because we stayed up and did all kinds of. So Susie is Unitarian summer camp. It's held up in the mountains, and you spend a week with Unitarian comrades, and I end up singing all week, which is amazing. And also what happens every year at Susie is it's the anniversary of my sister's death. And this was the 50th year.
My name is Melisande, and I'm dropping that stone for Sinead O'Connor. I didn't know her personally, but she was incredibly important to me and had a huge impact on me, and our world is so much poorer without her.
I have two joys to share this morning. First, on a similar note to UU Summer Camp, my kids went to the mountain, the Highlands Camp and Conference Center, earlier this summer and came back and had such a good time. And I had gone there as a camper and was a counselor, and to see them recreate it, I tear up a little bit, listen to them sing the same songs that I remember singing. So it was wonderful. And the other very exciting news is that we have just invited 2 new kittens into our family. So we're very excited that we now have Luna Shadow and Ginny Spark, who are 2 new kittens. It was a collaborative naming process.
This stone represents the $800 I gave the scammers this week. Just don't do it.
This last stone is for the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken this morning. Let us hold all these joys and sorrows in our hearts. Our spoken meditation this morning is an excerpt from How to Change Your Mind, what the new science of psychedelics teaches us about consciousness, dying, addiction, and depression, and transcendence by Michael Pollan. The mystical journey seems to offer a graduate education in the obvious. Yet people come out of the experience understanding these platitudes in a new way. What was once merely known is now felt, takes on the authority of a deeply rooted conviction. And more often than not, that conviction concerns the supreme importance of love. Our meditation hymn this morning will be number 352 in the gray hymnal, Find a Stillness.
Find the stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
Today's reading is an excerpt from Be Love Now by Ram Dass. You are loved just for being who you are, just for existing. You don't have to do anything to earn it. Your shortcomings, your lack of self-esteem, physical perfection, or social and economic success, none of those matter. No one can take this love away from you, and it will always be here. Imagine that being in this love is like relaxing endlessly into a warm bath that surrounds and supports your every movement, so that every thought and feeling is permeated by it. You feel as though you are dissolving into love. This love is actually a part of you. It is always flowing through you. It's like the subatomic texture of the universe, the dark matter that connects everything. When you tune into that flow, you will feel it in your heart. Not your physical heart or your emotional heart, but your spiritual heart, the place you point to in your chest when you say, I am.
Freely have we received gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. If you wish to donate online, there is a QR code inside the order of service, which can be read by your cell phone's camera, and there is information on the church's website. We will now receive the morning offering.
Take it slow. Don't get in your way, you keep it moving. At the pace of every weather, look within. And don't forget you are surrounded by the wind. As it rushes in your lungs, oh honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. You are tide crashing over and call of the mountains, and your darkest tunnels are where your light come from. So take it slow. What you long for is on its way, and don't stop reaching. Taste the sound of every color deep within. Let your wild be uncaged, run with the wind, and rush into its lungs. Oh honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. You are tide crashing over and a call of the mountains, and your darkest tunnels are where your light come from. Oh, aim for the journey and grow with the night. Be brave in your loving, keep steady your sight. Oh honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. You are tide crashing over and the call of the mountains. Your darkest tunnels are where your light comes. Don't turn away. Don't turn Don't turn away. Don't turn away.
I was 22 when my mom died. She was 49, and I'd experienced death before, my grandmother, my great aunt, even my dad, but it wasn't the same. When my mom died, it felt like a piece of my heart was ripped out of me, and I could feel the emptiness. And when we buried her, I wailed, and I didn't even know what it meant to wail before that day. But that day, I unleashed a primal scream into the world, and I cried so hard, I couldn't breathe. And I sobbed impossibly large tears. And that day I wailed, and I discovered what the low end of my emotional range was. And that day I lost any faith I had in God. And then life moved on as it does. I worked, and I missed my mom. I got married, and I missed my mom. I had children, and I missed my mom. And I put this part of me into a drawer, and I just went on living as the living do. And life was fine. But 24 years later, I would reconnect with my mom through a guided psychedelic experience. So it was April 25th, 2019. I went into this psychedelic mushroom journey with really no expectations. I wasn't a drug person. I had tried pot a few times, but it wasn't for me. I didn't even drink all that much, and in retrospect, I clearly had control issues and felt more comfortable when I maintained the perception of being in control. Some good friends suggested that I try a guided psilocybin or magic mushroom experience, and I didn't even know what psilocybin was or why I would want to try it. They talked about how much people learned on these experiences, and I like learning, and they said it was like going on a trip in your mind, and I love to travel. So I surrendered to the opportunity, and our guide told us we're gonna be safe, and he prepared us for the potential of a challenging experience, and he said that if that happened, to ask whatever was causing the fear or the anxiety, what it wanted to teach us. He asked us to bring something important from our childhood to the ceremony, and I brought the letter that my mom wrote to me when she was pregnant that you have in your order of service. We built an altar, we brought up our mementos, we meditated, we ate the mushrooms, we meditated some more, and then I was gone. I had melted into the ground and was watching and feeling the world breathe. In waves, I became aware of my grandparents and my great-grandparents and all of the people I knew I was connected to in this world. I felt connected to the earth and the trees and the sky in a way that I had never felt before. And I felt loved, unconditionally loved. And I realized I was safe. And then I realized I didn't remember what it felt like to truly feel loved and safe, ever. And I realized that because I didn't remember what it felt like to truly feel loved and safe, that I hadn't been able to share love, not with my wife, not with my kids, not with my friends, not with the world. I'd been living my life scared. I was scared of dying. And then I saw my mom, and I felt her. And I instantly understood that she wasn't gone, that she was a part of me, and I was carrying her essence forward. And I could pull like the string from me to her to my kids, and we were all connected, and we were all carrying each other. And I felt this in my heart. And I viscerally felt that I was connected to her and that we were united, and that we had always been united, and that we always would be united. And the hole in my heart was for the first time in 24 years filled. And in that instant, I realized that my perception of God was wrong. I could see a world that was bigger than anything that I had ever conceived. I could feel a connectedness that spanned time and space, and I could understand in my soul that we were all part of something bigger. And I could understand the truth that we are all brothers and sisters. And I remembered joy, true joy, and I was no longer scared, and I was no longer afraid of dying, and I knew that I was loved, and I knew that I was safe, and always had been, and always will be. My name is Matt Zemon. My wife, Melissa, and I have been members here for more than 15 years, and we've raised our children in this church. Alex is now 19, Cole is 17, soon to be 18, and I've been here since they were 2 and 4. I've written a book called Psychedelics for Everyone, and I have a journal called Beyond the Trip for preparation and integration. And I imagine some of you came this morning because you're deeply drawn to this topic. I also imagine that some of you are confused and suspicious, and some of you are probably resistant, curious, but resistant. And I get all of these reactions. Prior to my first journey, I was resistant. I was a non-drug user. I grew up believing all drugs are bad, that they're gonna fry my brain, they're gonna lead to addiction. That whole campaign with the frying pan and the egg. Yeah, that works. Agreeing to participate in a guided magic mushroom journey was way out there for me. So I want to acknowledge and connect with any resistance in this room. Believe me, never in my wildest imagination did I think I'd be standing up here giving a sermon on psychedelics. I also want to begin with a slight disclaimer. While my book is called Psychedelics for Everyone, I don't mean everyone should take a psychedelic. Not at all. There are people with certain pre-existing conditions. There are those who are taking various prescriptions or supplements where taking a psychedelic might not be safe for them. And I could spend hours talking about risk reduction, but that's not the topic for today. So I just want to reiterate that these are powerful substances that need to be treated carefully. That all being said, I do believe that the responsible use of psychedelics is good for society. And that's really what I mean when I say psychedelics for everyone. Unitarian Universalism and community church is where we members of this congregation are free to believe anything we wish or nothing at all. And even though I did not believe in God at the time that we joined, I wanted my children to have the community that this church provided. I wanted them to have the religious education with Marion and the RE team. I wanted them to be free to develop their own religious beliefs and not be forced into any specific dogma. And while I want to focus the rest of this talk at this UU church, the one that I've called home for all these years, is the fact that my psychedelic experience in 2019 was nothing short of a religious experience for me. An experience that shook me from not believing in God to having a tremendous belief in a higher power, in the knowing that we are all connected, in the understanding that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. I could see the interconnected web of life that we talk a lot about in UU, but if I'm honest with myself, I didn't really believe until this psychedelic experience. But I get ahead of myself. So what are psychedelics? They're labeled as drugs, but what the word drug is in itself is confusing. Where does one draw the line between a drug and a nourishing supplement like a vitamin or a pick-me-up like coffee? It's not clear. The word psychedelic has its origins in Greek, 2 different words, psyche and delios, which loosely translates to mind or soul manifesting. I prefer to use the term entheogen, which connects the use of these substances with a sacred experience of some sort, a higher power. There are lots of different entheogens, hundreds of them. Some familiar ones include psilocybin, LSD, ayahuasca, MDMA, and even ketamine, which is the only legal psychedelic in all 50 states today. MDMA should be legal end of this year, beginning of next, and psilocybin maybe the year after that or 2 years after that, but that's a topic for another day. The use of psychedelics or entheogens for spiritual use is not a new idea at all. There's a cave painting in Africa, in Algeria, that shows this mushroom shaman, this shaman with mushrooms all down his side and down his legs, and he's holding these mushrooms. It's somewhere between 4,000 and 9,000 years old. For over 2,000 years, the Greeks had a psychedelic ritual where they would use this substance to rise above their mortal state and become one with God. And people like Plato, Socrates, Cicero, Pythagoras, Augustus Caesar, Marcus Aurelius, they all participated in the ceremony. Maybe using a substance to commune with God is not such a bad idea, more effective. Many of us were taught in school about Native Americans using peyote. Many of us heard about the Mayans and the Aztecs and their use of psychedelics. But we don't often learn about the Siberian shaman and their use of psychedelics. Or we don't get associated with the witches that were burned in Europe and their use of psychedelics, or the tribes in Africa and their use of psychedelics. So my hope in pointing this out is to hopefully start the process of switching the mindset of putting psychedelics in the othering category and recognize that we all have a psychedelic lineage. So what's going on with us? In our Western society, many believe that we are above or beyond these psychedelic traditions. We don't need this. We've become a culture that excels in moral preaching and medical sedation, but we lack the understanding and the resources to facilitate the individual exploration of consciousness. So I want to pause and sit with that for just a moment. People are leaving churches in droves across this country. Politicians are telling women what they can and can't do with their bodies. Huge numbers of adults and children are being prescribed psychotropic drugs, antipsychotics, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, hypnotics, mood stabilizers. And this is being done in these 10-minute wellness visits with no path to ever get off this medication. So I say again that we have become a culture that excels in moral preaching and medical sedation, but we lack the understanding and the resources to facilitate individual explorations of consciousness. So let's take a moment to talk about the intersection for psychedelics between spiritual and medical. We've already introduced the concept that from ancient times, societies have used various plants to glimpse the divine, thereby making them by definition sacramental plants. Historically, there was little separation between the priest and the physician, but these roles have separated over time. With the rise of scientific medicine in the West specifically, the division between the priest and the physician has made the emergence of sacramental substances complicated. It's a challenge for both professions. If we were to declare that these substances are the domain of the clergy, it would be fair to argue that they lack the scientific knowledge to keep people safe. Conversely, psychiatrists and neurologists, while having a deep understanding of the brain and the body, they often lack a grasp of spiritual matters. So while there are exceptions where clerics are trained in psychiatry and vice versa, the general trend is a stark separation between the two fields. Psychiatry is aspiring to be, quote, pure science, so they often steer clear of religious affiliations. The result is a therapeutic practice that can feel surprisingly superficial and unsure of its aims and true purpose. Too often today, therapy is reduced to conforming the individual to societal norms, shaping them into the mold of average behavior and average tastes, and to numbing symptoms with these psychotropic drugs. And this means that in many ways we've accepted the premise that all of our challenges can be solved in a biochemical reaction. And I think this is a false premise and a false promise. I believe that the challenges are not just biochemical, that they're biochemical, psycho, social, and spiritual, and all need to be addressed. This means that there is no magic pill that's going to cure us. It doesn't exist and it will never exist. What is urgently then needed is a reconciliation between the medical and the religious. A medical-religious reapproachment would require alignment or realignment of both sides. Central to this reconciliation is what we as UU members have known for years, recognizing that religion is not just about adhering to beliefs and practices and behaviors, but having individuals have an inherent wisdom inside of them, that they can transform their consciousness through direct experience. So I want to be clear. I am obviously a fan of psychedelics, and I'm grateful for what they've done for me. But I do not believe that psychedelics are a cure for any more than for anything. Nor do I believe that the existing pharmacological options are a cure for most people. What I believe are that psychedelics are a catalyst to help people transform their beliefs and have deep personal experiences that then can lead to personal change. On a side note, I do think it's interesting that of the mainstream accredited seminaries, the first one to offer a ministerial certificate in entheogenic studies is UU's Star King Seminary. Wild. So at this point, I hope you can see that the topic I'm talking about today is much more of a religious freedom topic than it is a medical topic. The founders of our country stated in the First Amendment that legislation should refrain from attempting to dictate religious practice. In multiple legal cases, this has been upheld, especially when it pertains to individual choices that are not harmful to others. Study after study has shown that the vast majority of psychedelics are significantly safer than legal drugs when it comes to harm to self and harm to others. There is a study from Imperial College London, Dr. David Nutt, where he said, let's forget about how drugs are classified, and let's just look at the harm potential. The most dangerous drug, far left-hand side, alcohol. It's a 73, harm to self, harm to others. You follow his chart down, 55 is heroin, 54 is crack cocaine, just for perspective. Keep going down this chart, all the way down here at the bottom, it's a 6, are mushrooms. 7 is LSD, 9 is MDMA. So are there risks? Sure, but relatively. Little harm to self, little harm to others. As I said before, psychedelics are clearly not for everyone. All medicines have risks, and psychedelic medicines can be dangerous for some people. That being said, it does seem reasonable that for those adults who, like me, decide to undertake in these risky but potentially transformational experiences, that they should be allowed to do so openly, under the best available scientific, psychological, and religious wisdom. Unfortunately, this is not the current situation. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University have shown that with attention paid to source, set, and setting, the probability of having a truly bad trip is very, very low. You can have a challenging trip, but that's different than a bad one. So just quickly, source is where does your medicine come from? Is it safe? Is it pure? Set is your mindset going into the journey and the preparation that you have done. Setting is the physical environment, the container, your feeling of safety. Whether working in the medical framework or the spiritual framework, source, set, and setting are 3 keys to radically reducing risk and increasing effectiveness. And there are experts who can assist you in these experiences who will pay attention to both the medical and the spiritual. Whether working in the medical or the spiritual framework, there are also people who don't pay attention to both the medical and the spiritual sides of the process. So I'm going to conclude today's talk with an Alan Watts analogy. Imagine this beautiful grand piano in the hands of an individual with no knowledge of music. Even in their inexperienced hands, this instrument can create sounds of inherent beauty, given its remarkable craftsmanship. Now envision this piano in Glenn's hands. It doesn't just create music. It tells stories, it expresses emotions, it touches souls. This analogy captures the essence of psychedelic substances. They are capable of generating an unforgettable experience in any individual. However, when administered under the guidance of an experienced facilitator, and for an individual who carries deep spiritual intentions, these substances can transcend ordinary experiences, serving as profound gateways to spiritual realms.
We're going to do the closing hymn now. It's actually not from the hymnal. The words are in the order of service. I think it's like on the inside on the third page. It's called The Way Knows the Way. It's very short, like a 12-bar hymn, and we'll be doing it like 6 times, so you'll have plenty of chance to get to know it and to sing out and really enjoy yourselves with it. And we're going to add some harmonies as we go through, so if you feel like joining in with that, do too. This is The Way Knows.
I'll sing it once through myself, and then please join along after you get a feel for the melody. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to plan the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to plan the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to plan the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to plan the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to plan the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to plan the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way.
The words for extinguishing the chalice are in your order of service. Please join me in saying them if you wish to do so. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Before we sing Shalom, let's take a moment to give thanks to all who made this morning's service so special. Now, please join us in singing Shalom. The words are in your order of service. As you're comfortable, please either hold hands with the person next to you or cross your arms over your heart.